Hello everyone, this is Couple. Welcome back to Couple Books. First of all, I would just like to say thank you. We broke 50 subscribers this week, which is super exciting, and we will be doing a little special thing. So stay tuned. That'll be in the next video, I hope, where we will be doing something a little more different and more fun to commemorate this accomplishment so far, which is all thanks to you guys. So I thank you guys for continuing to join me here today. Now that that's out of the way, the second announcement is that I would also like to say that there will be some bookish content down below. I'll be sending the link for a fellow book lover's Instagram. She just started a Bookstagram account, so that's really exciting. So that'll be down below as well. And with both of those things out of the way, now we get into today's video, which is all about book covers. So I don't know if you're like me, but I get very antsy and very aggravated when book covers are not good. Now, it's even more upsetting when it's a great book and has a bad book cover. I don't understand this. So I'm hoping you guys will agree with me. If you guys don't agree with me, that's also okay, because this is a discussion. And therefore, I'm gonna need you guys to contribute by commenting down below what you guys are thinking and what are your opinions as we move through this video. So to get started, we're gonna first start off by presenting you guys with two bad book covers. And then we'll move into good book covers, what makes a cover a good book cover, what makes a cover a bad book cover, and all that fun stuff. So let's get started with my first pick, which is from what I've heard, an excellent book. I've not had the chance to read it yet, unfortunately, but one of the reasons I would never have picked it up without a recommendation is because of its cover. Now, I know we're told not to judge a book by its cover, but I think we can all acknowledge that a cover does help. A good cover is definitely helpful. So, without further ado, here is Burning Brightly by Mercedes Lackey. So, I've heard amazing things about this book. I've heard amazing things about this author. I haven't had a chance to get into their works at all yet, but that's not the point here. The point here is to look at its cover. One of the reasons I would not have chosen this book as a beautiful cover is because there's a few things wrong with it. Number one thing that bothers me immensely is the fact that Mercedes Lackey's name is much, much, much bigger than the title's name. If you guys can see, Mercedes Lackey, and then down here is the author's name in tiny red. That is an issue when the title of the book is not at least the same size as the author's name. I can understand that there's some marketing behind this idea, but I personally think it's a huge turnoff from a decent book cover. That's number one issue here. Number two being the amount of colors going on here. Just barely looking at it, I count 5+ colors going on here. That is too many colors. I can't even take in everything that is happening on here. I look at this, I first see the unicorn, and then I see the person down here, and then I see the title. I'm all over the place, and it's very distracting, and also I think contributes to it not being such a wonderful cover. It's just got too much color and too much on the page. It's cramming its space. It's not utilizing its space effectively. Now, while it is being efficient with its space, it is not using that efficiency to produce a beautiful cover. It's instead using it to produce a crammed cover that is not so appealing to the eye. And that is just one of my another gripe I have with it. The other gripe I have with it is I think that the spine is not at all decent looking on a bookshelf. I think that for many of us who are book lovers and have books, we like looking at the cover, but we also want to have a decent spine to look at on our bookshelves. And this spine, really, it's not that it's so horrible, it just doesn't add anything. It's nothing special. Nothing special is going on here with the spine, and I think that's part of the issue. It's just a continuation of the cover itself, and I think that is missed opportunity and missed marketing. So those are my main issues with this one. Oh, there we go. Now moving into my second book that I'll show you guys that is a bad cover. This is Brandon Sanderson's book, The Bands of Mourning, which is part of the Era 2 of the Mistborn series. Now, Brandon Sanderson, as you guys know, is one of my favorite authors of all time, and I love him dearly, and I think his work is amazing. And, I cannot fan enough about the man. But I think that some of his US editions are absolutely atrocious when it comes to cover art. Another big sin when it comes to cover art is photorealism, realistic faces, and also the greatest curse of them all, using actors' faces from the TV show adaptations. These are all bad things and should not happen, and I think are horrible things, in my opinion, of course. And here we're seeing an example of realistic drawings of people, which I just think is atrociously ugly. Before we get more, let's talk about the good things here that weren't present with Mercedes Lackey's book, and that would be the title of the book and the author's name are roughly around the same size, and neither are dominating, which I think this is definitely better than Mercedes Lackey's ideas in terms of cover design. So that is one plus in his favor. The other one being that it's not overwhelming you with colors. It's dark colors such as dark blue and black, and also light blues and whites. Like, nothing insane here. Basically 2 colors, black and blue. And 3 white. But where does it go wrong? It goes wrong in the simple fact that it has photorealism on here. This is such a sin, and it's so upsetting to see it. And then you would think, okay, fine, the cover's not great, but maybe the spine will at least be interesting. No, it's more of it. That's photorealism. That's a realistic drawing of the people on the cover. Why? Sorry, the glare, but why? This is atrocious. This is sad. It's such beautiful work, like this is just, it takes away from how amazing of a story this is by slapping such a bad cover on it, in my opinion. Is it the worst I've seen? No. But is it bad? Yes. Is it on the better side of bad? Most certainly. Is it on the bad side of good? No. It's still on the bad side of bad. But it's just good on the side of bad, if that makes sense. Yes. Yeah, so this is another example, but it's a perfect lead off into discussing what makes a good cover. So, we just saw Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson, US edition. We're going to move over to the UK edition. Now, the UK edition is a much, much, much better cover. Why do you ask? Well, I think it follows a few simple rules. Number one, it follows the rules of the author's name and the title being around the same size. Boom, title, boom, author. Also, the coloring scheme here when it comes to the words is genius. It really lets the Brandon Sanderson kind of flow into the cover while allowing the title to pop off, which I think is brilliant, and I think that is more for what should be aimed in the publishing book cover artist world. Additionally to that, I also think that besides those two things, it also operates with the same kind of principle that the US edition did with having simple colors and having just a few colors, which I think is a great idea. Here you are seeing it, a nice clean white backdrop, nothing too fancy, and then they're using colors to draw your eye. They're using blues and blacks to draw your focus onto the statue on the cover, which is not necessarily super detailed or anything. Of course, it is semi-detailed and more detailed than not detailed, but it's not necessarily taking all your attention to the face, but it's just accentuating it, if that makes sense, if that's even a word. But it allows the entire experience of the cover to all happen at once. You're not being drawn to different corners of it like with Mercedes Lackey's, and nor is it disgusting to look at like the US edition, but rather it's just a nice overall cover that kind of draws in you to look at the title, the cover art, and the author's name all kind of in one go. So that's some great appreciation for this. And then next, but not least, is the spine. Look at that. It's nothing, it's nice, it's clean, it isn't atrocious. It's continuing the same theme as we saw in the US edition with the statue being right here in the center, but it's clean and it looks nice on a shelf, and that I think is very important to a lot of us. So, number one example of a good cover. Number two would be The Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. Now, like I said, this is not necessarily the most perfect cover out there, but I do think it's a pretty decent cover, and I think it follows some of the same rules that make a cover better than others. Number one, they're using a clean white backdrop once again. Of course, it's not white, it's like off-white or eggshell. But the point remains the same. A nice clean backdrop, and then it's having Ben Aronovich and the Rivers of London both be rather prominent on the cover, which I don't necessarily hate. I wish Ben's name was a little bit smaller, but that's just, nitpicky. But overall, I think it's following some decent rules. Same size fonts. It lets you see both. It calls attention to both equally. It's nothing like the Mercedes Lackey example we saw. Now, moving down to the actual art on here, I think it's genius. Why? Because they're taking one color choice and they're just using that to the best of their ability. They're using red, and they're using different shades of red and white in combination to make this beautiful map of London on the bottom. Why is this such a good cover? I think because it's simple, but yet it's drawing you in. It's an invitation to look into the book more and wonder, what is this cover about? You're going to pick this up and take a few seconds to contemplate what's going on down here. It's not overloading your brain, because it's still giving you a lot of freedom, and it's all on a white blank canvas, but it's also a very interesting cover design. So I like it. Then moving on to the spine, I think this supersedes the design by Brandon Sanderson's UK edition and kind of builds on what Lackey was trying to do with their cover design, and that is continuing the design of the cover onto the spine, and it makes a really actually quite decent spine in my opinion. So this is another example of a very excellent cover. While it's not the prettiest, it's not the greatest, it is a solid one, and it's not ugly in the slightest. So now that I've shown you guys two good and two bad, you guys might be saying, like, Spencer, that seems to be like pretty simple. Just slap a blank black or white canvas on the back and then just use one or two colors to spice it up, and make sure you keep the font sizes of the name and the title of the book simple, and make sure that they're both called attention to equally. Make sure the spine isn't atrocious. Like, yes, these are simple things to do, but then there's also always the opportunity to move on to the next level, and that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a book cover that, in my opinion, breaks a lot of rules, but is still a really beautiful cover, and that'd be Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Eames. This cover, it does follow some of the core tenets, such as the fact that the backdrop is white. As you can see, it's a white backdrop, and as well, his name is in small typeface, while Kings of the Wild is in a bold red typeface, which I think that's a great thing right there to do. And he also has people on here, which normally would be a no-no, but they're not photorealistic or drawing realistic or actual photographs of people. They're these really unique drawings that I'm not sure you can see as clearly as I can see it, but they're kind of artsy, sharp-angled faces. And this, I think, is pushing it in terms of what you can do and still keep a nice, elegant cover, but they push it while still having a great cover. And I think that what is being done here is genius. I think it's excellent. It really keeps it fun and keeps up with making this a more unique cover than you could typically see, while trying to follow as many of those guidelines as I said before. But I think he does a really good job here. I think it's also important to bring out that while this is being said, he also is able to use these faces to kind of draw you into the entire cover, and he's using these images to draw you all over the place. He's not just drawing your attention to like the face of one person, or they're not trying to send you all over the page so dramatically like Lackey, but it's more of like a slow, nice winding forest path throughout the cover, if that's not too much of a metaphor for y'all. Then moving on to the spine, once again, really nice, elegant, clean, with just enough art on this spine to make it look interesting and good on your bookshelf. So this is another great cover that's not necessarily following those simple rules I said before. Now, lastly, now that that's all being said, and I've shown you guys some covers that I like, some covers I don't like, I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to think. Comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. But before I let you guys go, I'd like to show you two other gripes I have. Okay? The first gripe has to do when publishers mar is a good word, if it is a word, a perfect cover. Edgar Contero's Meddling Kids is a beautiful cover. It is white and black. The background is interesting and has lots of details, and yet it's not overwhelming, and it allows the red of the characters and the title to really pop. Edgar Contero's name is smaller than the title, which I think is a good thing, and it is blended into the background to a certain degree, not so that it's not seeable, but just enough so that your attention is drawn to the title of the book itself. Overall, I think this is a really beautifully done cover. I think it's absolutely genius. I'm not as crazy about the spine in this one, but the cover is great. However, this little bugger right here, why do they do this? I don't know what this is. I don't know why it's there. It's such an issue. Why did you make this permanent little ugly scar on this beautiful cover? I don't know. I don't know, people. But here's an example of what can happen to a beautiful cover. Okay, now last but not least issue I have when it comes to cover designs is consistency. Even if it's a bad cover to a certain degree, I want an author to keep it, especially if they're doing a series, so that all the books I've bought so far are not ruined by an addition or a color change or a format change or a height change of a book. Like when I buy 5 books in a series and then the 6th one comes out and it's a whole inch taller, that's extremely upsetting and does not do well for me. Now, I've been dealing with this a lot lately since I now buy books primarily from just the UK. So all my US series that I've had, the UK editions are now coming in to finish up the series, and it is a struggle. But that is beside the point. Today I'm discussing a book that I bought entirely through the UK, and this is a series I love very much. It's the Rivers of London series, which I showed you the first book already. And you guys can see in the series that the first 3 books are really, they keep the same kind of idea that I discussed with you before. They keep the same formatting, same font choices, and all they really do is just change up the colors a little bit and keeping the maps fresh on the bottom. But overall, it looks really nice, especially on your bookshelf. When you have it looking like this, this is well done. I love this. This looks nice, it looks clean, it looks good on your shelf. But then they made the genius idea to make the backdrop yellow. Why did they do this? Look at this. This is like horrible, and it looks horrible on my shelves. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why publishers do this. But that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. It's just my thoughts, just my opinions, and I hope that you guys have thoughts and opinions to share with us down below. I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say, and once again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later. And the next video should have a little bit of a fun surprise for you all. So looking forward to seeing you guys then. Okay, toodaloo everyone. Have a wonderful day. This has been Couple, and this has been A Couple Books. Bye.